Well, hi there. This is David Yankee. Welcome to my podcast, Newsroom to Nowhere. It all started on the afternoon of June 20th, 2024. I checked a message on my voicemail that came as quite a shock. Lillian Piles, a well-known casting director based in Cleveland, had called my number by mistake. She was looking to reach a woman whose name I don't recall, but the woman she was trying to call was needed on the set of a movie being filmed in Toledo that very night. I thought I should call Lillian back and let her know that the person she had called was not at this number and that she had called me by mistake. That way she'd have time to try and track down the right person. Mrs. Piles was very grateful that I called, and we chatted a bit, and she said the woman was signed up to be an extra in a movie that was being filmed at the Hollywood Casino in Toledo that night. I asked if she needed more extras, and she said she sure did. Then she asked if I was available. Well, I was. I'm retired, I have plenty of time. So, as fate would have it, the wrong number opened the door for me to make my debut as a professional actor in a Hollywood movie. Technically, I was listed as a, quote, background actor, unquote, also known as an extra, unquote, in the movie that at the time was being called Stick Shift. It's since been renamed Eenie Meanie, and now it's scheduled for release on Disney's own Hulu on April 18th. According to a news release, Piles was looking to cast 30 roles in addition to the background extras. There were open parts for actors of all races and ethnicities, from ages 8 to 65. Some of the open roles included Dad Meanie, a 32-year-old male who was rough around the edges. Ma Meanie, a 32-year-old female, also rough around the edges. Cole, a 36-year-old male with large biceps, and a variety of other roles including a casino bartender, an irritated customer, 3 bank robbers, and a nervous teller. The movie was described as a heist thriller film, written and directed by Sean Simmons, and it tells the story of a former getaway driver named Edie who was trying to go straight but was dragged back into a life of crime because she was going to save her chronically unreliable ex-boyfriend. Edie was played by Samara Weaving. To be honest, I had never heard of her before, but then I looked her up. She's a 33-year-old actress and model from Adelaide, Australia, who made her screen debut in an Australian soap opera called Out of the Blue when she was 16. Weaving began working as a model for Australian underwear brand Bonds in 2012 and appeared in the crime film Mystery Road in 2013, along with her uncle, Hugo. Now, her uncle, Hugo Weaving, is a familiar face to many American movie fans because he played Agent Smith in the Matrix movies. According to various websites, Samara Weaving has been working steadily in Hollywood and TV for the last decade. Many of her roles were in low-budget productions such as Ash vs. Evil Dead, Squirrel Boys, Monster Trucks, Mayhem, Ready or Not, and Bill and Ted Face the Music. But she did play Jessica in the Hulu series 9 Perfect Strangers, which starred Nicole Kidman, and she had a role in the G.I. Joe movie spin-off Snake Eyes. Other stars of Eenie Meanie included Andy Garcia, Steve Zahn, Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch, and Randall Park, who played President Kim in the movie The Interview. Since my acting job popped up at the last minute, I didn't have time to take a nap before heading to the Hollywood Casino at 8:30 p.m. that Thursday night. I admit I was dragging by the end of the shift, which was about 6:30 a.m. on Friday. During my 9.5 hours at the casino, I only got a glimpse of one of the stars. Their stand-ins did most of the work while I was doing my best as a background actor. I did see all of their trailers lined up behind the Hollywood Casino when I was walking to the production and the food tents. An email from the production company advised me to bring 4 options of clothing for the wardrobe department to choose from. It said, quote, "This scene is at a local casino, so you don't have to be dressed up. Dress down, please. If you have outfits that are a good wardrobe for the scene, you increase your chances of being filmed. Your hair and makeup should be downplayed, not glam," end quote. The email also said, printed in bold and underlined type, "to cover tattoos." Well, that wasn't an issue for me since I don't have any. I went to the casino and brought 3 extra shirts and 2 extra pair of pants in a garment bag. But when I checked in at the wardrobe department, the person asked if that was all I had. Apparently, I don't know what to bring to a movie set. I asked what was wrong, and she said my shirts were basically all black and they wanted me to wear something colorful and fun, like I'm on vacation or just having fun at a casino. Oh well, live and learn. They sent me to the wardrobe area of the tent where there was a rack of men's shirts sorted by size. They picked out a Hawaiian shirt that was mostly black but decorated with green palm trees. There were at least 100 other background actors milling around waiting to register, get their wardrobes, or grab some food. I got to talk to a few of them while we waited, and as you probably know, there is a lot of waiting when you're on a movie set. Our group of background actors was divided into subgroups, and mine was led into the Hollywood casino to a holding area, which appeared to be a small cafe before the movie company took it over. There were tables and chairs for us to sit at, and a long row of tables with food and drinks. It wasn't a very good selection, to be honest. There were open boxes of pizza, but the pizzas were all cold. There were different kinds of candies, but nothing that appealed to me. There were plastic cups that we could use to get fountain drinks from the casino's soft drink station, which I didn't know where it was until one of the other extras walked around the corner and came back with a cup of soda, or pop, as they say in Ohio. Some of the people I met are veterans at being extras. They travel around the country just for the fun of being a background extra. One woman I spoke with had been in more than 20 movies, including blockbusters like Avengers: Infinity War and Transformers. Surprisingly, there have been 87 movies filmed in Ohio, according to Wikipedia, and according to the Ohio Department of Development, 382 movies, TV shows, and video games have been filmed in our state. Most of the movies made in Ohio were low-budget productions that won't generate a blip on the radar screen, such as Green Grass of Wyoming, My Friend Dahmer, The Old Man and the Gun, Killer Nerd, and Chicken People. Excuse me if one of those is one of your favorites, but I had never seen them. But there were some Ohio-made movies that have become true cinema classics, including The Shawshank Redemption, which is ranked number 1, the best movie of all time on IMDb.com. Also, Rain Man, A Christmas Story, The Deer Hunter, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and The Asphalt Jungle. Some movies filmed in Ohio that don't quite qualify as legends but are still well known with some big name stars include Air Force One with Harrison Ford, Major League with Tom Berenger and Charlie Sheen, Brubaker with Robert Redford, Judas and the Black Messiah with Daniel Kaluuya and Martin Sheen, and A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks. Also, White Boy Rick with Matthew McConaughey and Bruce Dern, Light of Day with Michael J. Fox and Joan Jett, and Unstoppable with Denzel Washington and Chris Pine. Parts of the movie I was in, Eenie Meanie, were filmed in Cleveland, which was also the setting for such notable films as Spider-Man 3, The Avengers, The Fate of the Furious, Captain America, The Winter Soldier. TV shows that have been filmed in Ohio include Vanilla Ice Goes Amish, Extreme Home Makeover, and American Dreamers. Ohio is also home to one of Hollywood's greatest flops. This one was filmed in Cleveland in 1986, produced by the great George Lucas, starring Tim Robbins and Leah Thompson, and it featured one of my favorite Marvel comic superheroes. Can you guess the name of this critical and commercial disaster? It was Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck comic books were written by Steve Gerber, and they were witty, funny, and thoroughly absurd. The live-action movie was a total mess. As much as I enjoyed the comic book version of Howard, when I went to see the movie, I knew it was destined for infamy. Noted critic Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune called it a, quote, stupid film, unquote, and said, quote, the story has no center, the duck is not likable, and the special effects are less impressive than a sparkler on a birthday cake, end quote. Well, sorry I got a little sidetracked there, but as a Howard the Duck fan, I still have nightmares about that movie. Ohio is working hard to lure more Hollywood productions to the state. Since 2009, the Ohio Department of Development has been offering a motion picture tax credit that provides a refundable tax credit of 30% on production costs, cast and crew wages, plus other tax breaks for in-state spending. A total of $40 million in motion picture tax credits is available beginning July 1st every year. To be eligible, the production needs to spend at least $300,000 in Ohio. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but Wikipedia lists the budget for Eenie Meanie at $50 million. I've had a few brief encounters with the entertainment business, including the movie Twist of Faith, a documentary about the clerical sexual abuse scandal, and a few other local documentaries and TV shows. But when I was on the set of Eenie Meanie, I knew it was a big-time production. There were scores of people running around the set with clipboards and microphones and lights and cameras and other assorted recording gear. The casino was open to the public while the movie was being filmed. They just roped off a section of the building for the movie set. Curious casino goers could watch the action fairly close up. I wish I had some behind-the-scenes photos to share from my night on the movie set, but we were told in an email and at the casino that no phones were allowed. For people like me who are always snapping pics, it was disappointing, but I understood. On top of that, one of the production crew told me to take off my Apple Watch. Like, what am I going to do with that? Anyway, while I was sitting around in the holding area, I noticed a few extras were playing games on their phones. It turns out that phones were allowed, but only in the holding area, not where the filming was taking place. With all of the downtime, I decided to run out to my car, grab my phone, so I could use it while I was waiting. One of the extras told me that he worked the day before driving his car 55 miles to Sandusky, Ohio. He said he had a souped-up Dodge Charger, and they paid him $200 for driving his car to Sandusky. The producers had been looking for cool cars to use on some of the scenes. They asked me if I had a nice car, and I just laughed and said, nope, not unless you think a Kia Soul is cool. Well, my car didn't make it into the movie. Another extra in his 60s started talking to me about his family. He was really proud of his grandchildren. He showed me pictures of them in their football uniforms. He bragged about how his grandchildren had won the league championship. And then he told me something that was a little disturbing. He said when he was a kid, his dad was a World War II veteran who suffered from PTSD. He said his father would get mad whenever any of the kids smiled or laughed, and he'd smack them around and yell at them. He left home at 16, and I don't blame him. So, what did I do all night? Well, my big role was to sit at a slot machine and look surprised when a purple Dodge Hellcat came driving down the aisle right behind me. The production had 6 Hellcats, one of the crew members told me. Each one was used for certain scenes. The one that drove down the casino aisle had an electric motor installed in the trunk. During the filming, the Hellcat went pretty slow. It was going maybe 10 or 20 miles an hour, and it was super quiet. All you could hear was the hum of the electric engine and the rubber tires rolling along the vinyl floor. I'm curious to see how they sprinkle some Hollywood magic to make the Hellcat sound like its engine is screaming and look like it's racing down the aisle at high speed. Hellcats are incredibly fast and powerful. What a car. The 6.2-liter engine can produce up to 800 horsepower and hit top speeds of 200 miles an hour. A stunt driver, blonde like Samara Weaving, with her hair pulled back in a ponytail, was behind the wheel for most of those car scenes. She'd drive down the aisle, back up, drive back down the aisle over and over again. I was in the second seat from the aisle. They kept the first seat empty for safety reasons, and I was pretending to play a slot machine when the car would come rolling by. I tried my best to look startled every time. There was one scene where a waitress handed me a can of beer. It was warm. Another time, I was sitting at a slot machine further away from the main aisle. The production crew had set up tracks in the aisle behind me, and a guy sat on a small train-like car with a camera mounted in front. Another crew member pushed the car along the tracks in time with the Hellcat as it moved down the main aisle. As the car sped down the aisle, I leaned back thinking it would be a realistic reaction, and I came within a hair of being hit by the rolling camera on the tracks. I think my big chance of making it to this silver screen came when the stunt person was standing in the middle of the aisle and the Hellcat came rolling toward him. Another stuntman gave him a shove to get him out of the car's way, and the actor landed on a seat right next to me. They did a few takes, and I think that scene could be my big Hollywood moment. The one time I got to see Samara Weaving in action was pretty interesting. She was sitting in the driver's seat of a Hellcat, and on this car, the windshield was replaced with a solid bank of lights and cameras and electronic gear. It was impossible to see anything through that front window. Although Weaving was in the driver's seat, she wasn't driving. This vehicle had a separate driver's seat mounted on the roof, surrounded by a frame of metal tubing with a steering wheel and pedals for the gas and brakes. A stunt person sat in a chair on the roof above Samara and steered the Hellcat right down the aisle. In another scene, one of the Hellcats drove out of the doors of one of the casino's restaurants, and the driver hit the brakes, sending the car spinning into a row of slot machines, spewing sparks. But those slot machines were all fake, made just for that scene. About 3 a.m, we were taken to the food tent, where a buffet was set up for all the extras. The main dish was some kind of pasta and spaghetti sauce, with all kinds of side dishes, from veggies and salads to French fries and rolls. There were gourmet cookies for dessert. If I had known, I would have skipped that cold pizza earlier in the night. At the end of the shift, all the background actors lined up and were signed out one at a time by a crew member on her laptop. There was another film session the next night. Well, actually, it was later that day, in the Westmoreland area of Toledo. I could have signed up for that, but I was worn out from being on my feet for 24 hours straight, and I had seen enough of what I hoped to see for the behind-the-scenes Hollywood experience. It really was wonderful to have seen how they make a movie and to play a very, very, very small part in the production. I'll be tuning in April 18th for the premiere of Eenie Meanie on Hulu. Of course, I will be looking closely at the background to see if I made the cut and appear on screen. Who knows? My character could easily have been cut totally, or maybe I'm just a blur as the car speeds by. And even if I do escape the cutting room floor and make it to the big silver screen, I doubt I'll have any Hollywood agents calling me to star in Disney's next blockbuster movie. However, I did get a check in the mail for $135.60 from Eenie Meanie's payroll department. So now I can honestly say with 100% accuracy that I am a professional actor. Okay, that's a wrap. Cut. Thanks for listening. This is David Yankee signing off from Newsroom to Nowhere.